All right, coaches, welcome back to our three method series. This week, we're going to be digging into the backside help component of your defense. In these scenarios, we are likely going to be defending baseline drives or any other type of drive that cleanly beats the on ball defender and requires the backside to come over and help. So, we got three methods. Let's get into them. All right, I got three things to this week that we're going to try to get into. So for an overview, we're going to look at a 4-on-3 scramble recovery drill, really get our players thinking about guarding the next man, right? Not getting fixated on our own man, but being in a position to help at all times. We're going to dig into our 2-on-2 Russian drill that we presented last week. This time we're going to look at the drop option, which is a good way to get our X5 defender over to stop drives. And then our 4-on-4 hotspot shell drill, we're going to change positions from the slot now to the baseline and really get our backside involved in the helping rotations. Lastly, I got some bonus talk. Of course, I think one of the fundamental defensive concepts of not following cutters to the backside, getting those feet in the paint, not losing sight of the basketball. I think that's an important teaching point that we're going to have to sprinkle throughout all three of these concepts. All right, let's get into our teaching methods here. A couple like real key things we want to be teaching players as we get into this is their positioning. Guys have got to maintain vision of the ball at all times. Right? It doesn't matter where your guy is or what they're doing, whether they're screening, cutting. We've got to maintain vision of the basketball. Secondly, we want people attached to the paint, right? Elbows and blocks. We need our backside defenders attached to the paint so they can actually be in a position to help when the time comes. We're going to get into this a little later, but obviously not following offensive players to the backside is really key, right? Most of the time, people cutting to the backside are doing so to create spacing on the ball side. We need to not fall into that trap and do not follow. And ultimately, helping. From the backside, we've got to see it early, react early, and go aggressively to the help. The more aggressively we can go, the earlier we go, we can stop that dribble penetration and allow our backside time to rotate down and get into help. I like to keep these three teaching points involved in all three of the concepts we're going to do in practice. All right, let's get into our first one here. We got a 4-on-3 recovery drill. We're going to essentially put three defensive players in our 4 perimeter spots. We're going to have 4 offensive players in the wings and in the slot areas. And we're going to put a couple simple restrictions on the offense. The offense can only shoot threes and they can drive for layups. If they pass out of the layup, they can kick it out for a 3, but those are the only 2 shots we allow the offense to get. Theoretically, that should let our defense focus on either guarding a drive or scrambling out to a shooter and forcing that next pass over. And that's really what we want our defense to be doing. Don't get attached to one man. Be looking to help, defend the basketball, and also scrambling to the next man from that position. Now, from a defensive perspective, we want to make sure that people aren't guarding the same or the same person is not guarding the ball twice in a row. If you are guarding them, let's say you're guarding the 4-man, the ball swings from 1 to 4, you're guarding the ball, he swings into the corner. That X3 player should not be guarding the next play. It's X2, it's X1 that should be sprinting out into one of those 2 positions to make sure that the ball is being guarded by a different player here. Now, in the end, we're going to let the offense have the opportunity to get to their 4-on-3. Most likely the offense will get a shot. We want to see some box outs, finish the possession, then we get some new defensive players in there and rotate through. 4-on-3 recovery. All right, one of my favorite finishing drills, the Russian series here. Do a lot of one-on-one Russian to kind of work on different finishes. We could add a second player here to really work on help defense. Last week we presented the kick-out wing version. So instead of our 5 on the block, we're going to put our 5 in the corner. That should create some ball side decisions for our defenders. Do we stun? Do we help on the ball? Where do we go from there? Now, with the drop, we're kind of presenting a scenario where we're getting a slot drive here. We could certainly do this from the wing drive perspective as well. And then we're going to have to get help from the center. All right. Now, of course, the center is going to have to make those same decisions, stunt or commit to that help position. But certainly this is a way to get our our X5, our rim defenders thinking about helping on drives as opposed to just getting attached to their own man sitting at the block here. Now, typically, I'll keep my X5 and our 5 man in there. I'll have another pair waiting on the baseline. We'll sub out every 2 or 3 reps, and we'll keep those guards at the top of the key running through their rotations, right? All right, now let's get into our third one here. We got to get a little bit more people involved. So we're going to go to our 4-on-4 shell hotspot idea here. Last week I presented a scenario where the hotspot is in the slot, right? That way we get drives from the hotspot. We're able to sort of like attack that drive with our ball side help. Now let's put it on the baseline. So what we're going to end up getting is whenever that ball swings around the key, it touches the hotspot in the corner. We're going to demand that he drive that thing baseline, forcing the help from the baseline side. Let's get to our teaching points, right? Go hard, go aggressively. Let's get our X3 to fly over, stop that drive, force some type of skip pass that our other players on the backside should be looking to anticipate and steal here. Now, typically, I said this last week, we can kind of do this in cutthroat form, meaning we've got a new 4 that's waiting on the baseline to jump in, or we can do this in team form and have them make a couple subs on O and D and then kind of play it from there. But the idea of a hotspot, let's put it on the baseline, force that baseline drive, force our rotation, and just try to drill that backside help from the defense. All right, I wanted to spend at least 30 seconds here talking about the idea of not being a follower here, right? I mean, one of the things that obviously you're going to have to teach players at the JV level and even at the varsity level is the idea when your player cuts to the backside, you have got to stay in the paint, right? I put a little note here on my slide, equating the paint to like quicksand, right? As our player cuts away from the basketball, as we see in diagram 1 here, we should not be following them to that white backside area here. We need to have quicksand, right? We fall into the quicksand of the paint, and we are holding on to that paint with eyes on the basketball and another eye kind of keeping on our man here, just in case we see skip pass or anything of that nature here. But not being a follower, right? We want vision of the ball at all times. If they're cutting away from it, good. Let's use our hands. Let's get him shifted to the backside, and we're sticking it in the paint where we now can react if we see that baseline drive that we just worked on in those various drills. All right, that's it for this week here. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We've got at least 4 other videos from previous weeks. If you haven't subscribed to the website, jump on to CoachLynchBasketball.com. Got tons of stuff on there for you guys to check out. Catch you next week.